Never before has any voice uttered the words of that tongue here in Imladris.
Greetings! Welcome to This, That, and the Other, where I react to, respond to, comment on, question, or otherwise propound on whatever I find of interest on any given day. Now, today's topic Hello once again. Now that we've settled in at Rivendell, we can get a little R&R and prepare for a major event, the Council of Elrond. Now, so far, the hobbits have traveled from Hobbiton to Rivendell, a distance of roughly 500 miles. Professor T said it took 29 days. It's about 18 miles per day. I don't think that's likely with those 2-foot-long legs and stopping for 6 meals a day, plus a few days spent hanging around with Tom Bombadil. I'm sure it's taken at least a week longer, but we'll allow the good professor some poetic license here. Now, they expected to rest up a bit and return home, but then life happens, as it often does. But first, of course, I need to go off on a tangent for a moment. Now, this is a bit of a philosophical issue that may help you better understand some of my comments and my overall approach to this project. Professor Tolkien presents these stories as true history, even if they are feigned. And that's how I take them. I view the movies as what we would probably call docudramas, based to some degree on actual facts, but embellished and modified or outright fictionalized for dramatic effect. Therefore, when I say something really happened or something isn't accurate, I'm looking at it from the viewpoint of the book. So Arwen didn't really show up on Weathertop, and Gandalf's visit to Saruman isn't really accurate. Okay? Now, keeping with that, and because so much of the book council is not in the movie and vice versa, and to save my voice, I'll be stamping the international "thou shalt not" symbol, the red circle with the slash through it, over the "not in book" scenes. Likewise, a "scene missing" caption will appear over where the "not in film" scenes would be.
His strength returns.
That wound will never fully heal. He will carry it the rest of his life.
And yet to have come so far, still bearing the ring, the Hobbit has shown extraordinary resilience to its evil.
It is a burden he should never have had to bear. We can ask no more of Frodo.
We start right off with a scene that's not in the book. Big surprise. The subjects discussed occur scattered across the film, just not condensed into one scene like this. I find Elrond's comments about Frodo a bit suspicious, almost like he's considering having Frodo keep the ring moving forward, which of course is what happened anyway, but his tone of voice is a little disconcerting. We'll get back to these fellows in a moment. Jackson likes to jump around. Next, we have a flashback to the prologue with the addition of Isildur being a jerk.
Cast it into the fire! Destroy it!
No.
Isildur!
Now stop for a moment before going on to the shrine or whatever that room is to welcome our new friends, Boromir, Legolas, and Gimli, and to embark on another digression. I I don't know how to do this tactfully, so I will beg forgiveness up front before I get on with insulting everyone. A number of reactors seem to not understand the function of a group of people known as actors. Their job is to pretend to be other people, either in movies, on stage, or in television. And if they're any good, they'll get to pretend to be a lot of different people. However, what characters they portray in one production has nothing whatsoever to do with any other. What characters they've played before are truly, totally irrelevant to this movie. Too many reactors seem to be more interested in the actors' other roles than they are in the characters in these films. The gentleman on the left is Boromir, and nobody else. Get over it. At least Legolas doesn't have these identity issues. But all the teeny boppers, especially those in their mid-20s, swooning over him are so cringe. And poor Gimli. Everyone is screaming, Ned Stark, Ned Stark, every time Boromir shows up. And yet no one seems to recognize Gimli from the 97 movies and hundreds of TV shows John Rhys Davies has appeared in. I guess that's the price you pay for having most of your career occurring before 2010. Now, last, but certainly not least, Gandalf does not look like Dumbledore. Dumbledore looks like Gandalf. Gandalf was a well-defined character 30 years before J.K. Rowling was even born. This is the original. The others will vary from derivative to just cheap imitations. I am willing to grant that these comments are indeed the viewer's reactions. So technically they qualify. But these folks are supposed to be reacting to this movie. Honestly, I find the obsessions that some of these people have to be quite annoying. Yeah, maybe it's just me. But back to Rivendell. There was no shrine or whatever it was to the broken sword in Rivendell. Boromir did not cut himself, make snide comments, and totally disrespect everything. And Arwen continues to not appear. Anyway, Aragorn has been carrying the broken Narsil all along, as has been previously stated. Now, all this romantic stuff is based on information scattered throughout Appendix A in the back of Return of the King. There's no one single scene like this. Again, and again, and again. Read the books. Gandalf and Frodo are sitting, chatting about this and that, when, quote, suddenly, as they were talking, a single clear bell rang out, unquote. The council was beginning. And once again, it's hard to get a grip on anything. Peter Jackson has taken 37 pages of book, put them into his adaptation Cuisinart, and poured out a well-mixed 8 minutes of movie puree. The main points are covered, but much secondary information that would be useful to the viewer is omitted. Many of the lines of dialogue are given to different people, and speeches are resequenced, and so forth and so on. In fact, very little of the council in the book appears on screen, and very little of the film council appears in the book. I'll do what I can to reconcile the two, but don't expect miracles. Now, this outline is based on the book sequences.
Strangers from distant lands, friends of old, you've been summoned here to answer the threat of Mordor. Middle-earth stands upon the brink of destruction. None can escape it. You will unite or you will fall. Each race is bound to this fate, this one doom.
The council starts with Elrond introducing Frodo and other visitors from distant lands, including Boromir, Legolas, and Gimli, along with his father, Gloin, precluding the need for the previously seen dramatic entrances. Gloin then gives an account of the harassment of the dwarves and the men of Dale by messengers of Sauron and the growing fear of war in the north. Then Elrond speaks, giving the summation of the history of the ring that was shown in the prologue. Remember that? And as an aside, Elrond also names the two towers, although Tolkien's two towers are different from Jackson's two towers. But what else is new? Then Boromir starts his campaign for the ring, telling one and all how stalwart Gondor has been against Sauron. He and Aragorn have a long, civil, but not altogether friendly discussion about who has done more. It is Elrond, not Legolas, who later in the scene identifies Aragorn as Isildur's heir. Both no mention of the throne of Gondor or Boromir's
None of us can. The One Ring answers to Sauron alone. It has no other master.
And what would a ranger know of this matter?
He is Aragorn, son of Arathorn. You owe him your allegiance.
Aragorn. This is Isildur's heir.
And heir to the throne of Gondor.
Have a dad, Legolas.
Gondor has no king. Gondor needs no king.
And it's Aragorn himself who says, quote, "I am but the heir of Isildur, not Isildur himself," unquote. Now let's remember Boromir's remarks about Gondor not having or needing a king for later. Eventually, Gandalf, not Elrond, says, "Bring out the ring, Frodo," giving everyone a chance to do some serious nonverbal emoting. Between and among all this, other elves are asking questions and making comments. Bilbo relates his part in the finding of the ring. Gandalf then relates his visit to Gondor's archives to learn more about the ring. We covered this a long time ago, back at the beginning. And this is where he recites the ring inscription in the Black Speech, not after Boromir's ill-advised grab.
Never before has any voice uttered the words of that tongue here in Imladris.
Do not ask your pardon, Master Elrond, for the black speech of Mordor may yet be heard in every corner of the West. The ring is altogether evil.
Legolas brings the unsettling news that Gollum, who the elves of Mirkwood had been keeping prisoner at the request of Gandalf and Aragorn, had escaped. Gandalf observes, but he may play a part yet. Now, where will we have heard that before? Gandalf then tells about his dealings with Saruman, which we've partly covered with before.
To recap, Gandalf meets Radagast on the road. Radagast says Saruman is looking for Gandalf. After arranging with Radagast to have all his animal friends gather information and send it to Isengard, Gandalf rides to meet Saruman. They have a heated discussion, which Gandalf basically loses, but they do not physically fight. Gandalf is imprisoned on the pinnacle of Orthanc. Gwaihir, the eagle, thinking he's just bringing information, spots Gandalf and gives him a ride. They land in Rohan, where Gandalf first hooks up with Shadowfax. Gandalf spends a night in Bree, with Barliman bringing him up to date on everything that happened there. He travels to Weathertop and tries to draw the riders away from following Frodo. Some do, some don't. After setting the horse free, he makes his way to Rivendell. Whew.
The only real point of all this is merely to state that Saruman has turned traitor. The council briefly discusses maybe including Bombadil, but they decide that because of his rather peculiar relationship with the world, that probably wouldn't be helpful. They eventually agree that destroying the ring is the only viable option.
You have only one choice. The ring must be destroyed.
And what are we waiting for?
And Gimli tries to do it there and then. Elrond gives another one of his speeches that are an amalgamation of information scattered throughout this section of the book.
The ring cannot be destroyed, Gimli, son of Gloin, by any craft that we here possess. The ring was made in the fires of Mount Doom. Only there can it be unmade. It must be taken deep into Mordor and cast back into the fiery chasm from whence it came. One of you must do this.
Simply walk into Mordor. Its black gates are guarded.
He utters
by
his
dwarven
famous
soldiers.
advice about not walking into Mordor, and a whole lot more. Gloin suggests that maybe if all the free peoples join together, they'd have a shot at defeating Sauron. Observing that there are still the three elvish rings, and questioning what have they been up to all this time. Elrond answered, quote, "Of them it is not permitted to speak. But they were not made as weapons of war or conquest. That is not their power." Unquote. Silence descends on the council. That embarrassing silence that we've all experienced, where everyone knows something disagreeable needs to be done, but everyone is waiting for someone else to speak up. Silence, as opposed to a shouting. Frodo, quote, "At last, with an effort, spoke, and wondered to hear his own words, as if some other will was using his small voice. I will take the ring, though I do not know the way." Unquote.
I will take the ring to Mordor. Though I do not know the way.
Elrond gives a short, inspirational speech of validation. The looks on the faces of Legolas and Gimli as they realize they're signing up alongside a longtime rival are priceless. And Sam bursts in with either, quote, "Well, you won't send him off alone, surely, Master," unquote. Or, quote, "Mr. Frodo's not going anywhere without me," unquote, depending on which version you're dealing with. Elrond responds with, of course, quote, "No, indeed. You at least shall go with him. It's hardly possible to separate you from him, even when he is summoned to a secret council and you are not," unquote. Sam paraphrases Oliver Hardy with, "A nice pickle we have landed ourselves in, Mr. Frodo." Elrond's expression when Pippin and Merry burst in looks like he just entered a room full of hyperactive puppies. The analogy is apt, but the puppies are probably better behaved.
Stop it. Anyway, you need people of intelligence on this sort of mission. Quest. Thing.
Well, that rules you out, Pip.
9 companions. So be it. You shall be the Fellowship of the Ring.
Right. Where are we going?
The Fellowship is not appointed at this time. In fact, it takes nearly 2 months to plan the route and send scouts and gather information. Only then does Elrond more or less appoint Frodo's companions. They don't actually volunteer as such, unless they did that backstage before the speech. Quote, "The company of the ring shall be 9, and the 9 walkers shall be set against the 9 riders that are evil. With you and your faithful servant Gandalf will go. For the rest they shall represent the other free peoples of the world, elves, dwarves, and men. Legolas should be for the elves, and Gimli, son of Goin, for the dwarves. For men you shall have Aragorn, son of Arathorn," unquote. And since Boromir's return journey to Gondor will be over the same route, he will join the company as well, at least for that portion of it. When Elrond proposes that he find 2 of his household to round out the company, Pippin goes ballistic. To shut him up, and because Gandalf opines, quote, "I think, Elrond, that in this matter it would be well to trust rather to their friendship than to great wisdom," unquote. Elrond relents. "Now the tale of 9 is filled," unquote. Note that at no time is the word fellowship ever used. It's just the title of the book, or volume, actually. The individual books don't have titles. It is at this point that Narsil is reforged and becomes Anduril, Flame of the West, which Aragorn continues to bear. Also, this is when Bilbo gifts Thing to Frodo, along with the mithril shirt, with many words, none of which are used in the film script.
It's so light. Yes, made by the elves, you know. The blade glows blue when orcs are close. And it's times like that, my lad, when you have to be extra careful. Here's a pretty thing. Mithril. As light as a feather, and as hard as dragon.
No ring, no request to hold it, no monster face. The company gathers at dusk, since they will be traveling at night for secrecy. Boromir blows a blast on his horn. Elrond warns him that's not a good thing to do when you're trying to be stealthy. Sam is mentally taking inventory of everything he's bringing, when suddenly, "Rope," he muttered. "No rope." And only last night you said to yourself, "Sam, what about a bit of rope? You'll want it if you haven't got it." Well, I'll want it. Can't get it now. This can be thought of as a bit of foreshadowing. Elrond's farewell speech is much the same, except a little longer in the book, as usual.
The Ring-Bearer is setting out on the quest of Mount Doom. On you who travel with him, no oath nor bond is laid to go further than you will. Farewell. Hold to your purpose. May the blessings of elves and men and all free folk go with you.
The Fellowship awaits the Ring-Bearer.
Mordor, Gandalf. Is it left or right?
Left.
Many of Elrond's household stood silently watching the company leave. Arwen does not appear. Just when I was getting comfortable in Rivendell, we have to pack our bags and head out on the road again. So get ready for some mountaineering and some serious spelunking. We'll meet again before long.